Welcome back to the Shining Athletes podcast, our first podcast of the year. Welcome back, Erin.
Thank you. Happy 2026.
2026, kind of crazy. Out here in the winter of Chicago in the snow. Gotta love it. But we have a very special guest today, and we're telling a very special story. It's not about the social media. It's not about the likes on Instagram. Mm-hmm. It's about who you are as a person and who you are as a student athlete. And I think this story that we're about to tell from Tonya McKenzie is one that a student athlete can't afford to give up about listening, because this is a remarkable story and she tells it to a T. And person that has a brand is the most important thing as a student athlete.
I couldn't agree more, Tyler. And I also think with today's day and age and students wanting to get ready to show face, to have a presentation in their highlight reel, Tonya really talks about how it's more than just the 15 seconds of fame that you think you're going to have. It starts when you're young. It starts on who you are and your character. And she gives so many words of wisdom. So make sure you listen and check it out. It's a great episode, and I hope you enjoy.
Let's get right into the episode. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Shining Athletes podcast. We have another special guest with us today on a snowy January night in Chicago. Tonya McKenzie. She has a great story to tell, and she's going to help explain more of the personal side of things when it comes to student athletes. And I think this story and the portion of what she's going to have to say is very important for student athletes to hear. And I'm so excited to tell her story.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Tonya. And thank you, Tyler, for introducing us. As Tyler was saying, Tonya is this sweet spot where social media and branding and personal character really come to light, while also highlighting all of your successes as an athlete and a student. So I cannot do her nearly as much justice as she can. So Tonya, can you please share who you are, what you do, and what makes your passion and your career so helpful and so informative for student athletes?
Awesome. Again, thank you guys for being here. I'm Tonya McKenzie. I'm from the Bay Area, so Northern California. I now live in Southern California, where so many things are going on when it comes to the sports world. But I went to Cal State Northridge in Southern California, where I worked for the athletic department my entire time on campus. And I was one of those 5-year students because life be lifing. But I did have the opportunity to work for the athletic department, intramurals, and our NCAA collegiate department. I wound up going to Northern California. I worked for an ad agency first. And then I became the associate executive director for a YMCA. So I've worked for profit, I've worked nonprofit. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is your brand, your story, how you are telling your story to others to get it to resonate with them. And as an athlete, I played softball myself, but I also coached. So once I started at the YMCA, I started picking up coaching opportunities. That gave me an opportunity to bring younger kids into the facility. So then we're looking at, the healthy way of doing things, health and wellness. How are we taking care of ourselves as athletes? And then you start getting, as a coach, into more of the personal lives of athletes and seeing, what's going on in their life, and really being able to analyze the ones that make it, the ones that don't. What are those barriers? How do we address those and allow for young athletes to be as successful as possible? And I've really been a part of athletics my whole life. Now I have 4 athletes of my own. High school basketball player who wound up playing in college, then coaching at University of Nevada, Reno. Currently, I have 3 athletes at 2 different high schools The girl plays softball, the boys play baseball, and my 17-year-old is on his way to Delaware State. So early on, well, not early on, about 10 years ago, I would say, there was a situation where my son's best friend played basketball. And when we moved out to Southern California, there was something that happened in Northern California. And to keep it short, there was a sexting scandal some years ago. What wound up happening is young people started not mismanaging social media, right? Mm-hmm. And someone lost their ability to play at the next level. That encouraged me to write a book, actually put out a manual on how to really manage your personal brand, how to manage your personal brand as a young person. And it's also a guide for parents because they need to know also. And with NIL, this has become a helpful guide for a lot of parents and athletes. And I think it's important that we recognize you are a brand now. We can't go back to a time where your digital footprint didn't matter, because it does. So if you're going to do it, let's learn how to do it right. And that's kind of the space I've been in for a while now.
I agree. And from a social aspect of things, I know that from the beginning, when the word brand came out there, everybody's thinking social media. And that's so important to have people understand, and the audience understand, is that brand isn't just about the social media aspect. It's about who you are as a person and what you're trying to achieve as you go forward.
I try to get young people to understand establishing your brand is really setting your own boundaries, who you are and what you're about. That keeps you from operating outside of those lines. If you consider yourself dependable, or you want to be seen as dependable, what are things that you're going to do that show your dependability? If you want to be seen as an elite athlete, what are the things that you're going to do to show that you are an elite athlete? On top of the fact that, what are the things you're not going to do? Because as much as they kind of show who you are, it should also show who you aren't.
Totally. So based off of that, Tonya, what gaps have you noticed in student athletes that you are supporting, or just in general? Like, where are some deficits that you're seeing before you kind of come in and give some guidance or support to those students and their families?
I think the gap is the difference between what is and what parents understand, what families understand. Here's the deal. Understanding how to communicate. How to communicate it's a learned skill. And I don't think we're spending enough time teaching our young people how to communicate. More so because everybody's attached to their technology. So you have younger people that might not be as acclimated in talking and communicating about things that are important. So many times parents are feeling left out because the information isn't being translated from the child, the athlete, even at high school or early college level, to the parent. Totally. They're not paying attention. There's information that's being missed, and there's information that's not being transposed to the next stage. And because, that high school, college years, really, you're not little league anymore. You're not rec league anymore. So coaches are supposed to be talking to athletes. So their job is literally to communicate information to their parents. But if you're not really taught how to communicate well, sometimes you miss important pieces. There's a lot of essential components to being a successful student athlete that are left out. I recently had a parent contact me because she was upset her child was missing playing time on his college campus, the one he's on now, because when he transferred, she didn't recognize that neither one of them recognized that not everything that happened at that one college didn't transfer over to the other college, and now he's waiting. And the frustration was hard. But the truth of the matter is, the information is there. somebody probably communicated that to him. He just didn't know how to communicate that to her, or maybe he didn't understand it himself. We're so stuck to our devices at a young age. Sometimes I think a lot of essential information gets left out.
Mm-hmm.
I also think on top of that, you can do all the research you want by yourself, but there are still pieces that aren't shown online, that aren't in words, in text, saying this is the process. And
I agree.
That's where athletes struggle, between the line of getting the information to their parents and their parents really processing what the ideal plan for their individualized student really is.
Yep, I agree.
Would you say this has an impact on their reputation or their visibility, or is this something that you can kind of separate and isolate in order to build up their brand?
You know, I think the best athletes are the ones that learn how to communicate well, because they understand expectations. They also understand how to communicate when expectations aren't met. I would say, for instance, who's a good player to look at? What is it? Ole Miss, when their quarterback, they had lost a game. How does he communicate about that loss? You have to know how to communicate how you're feeling, how you're going to strategize and do better, and even your emotions. Like, I think young people struggle with even how to communicate their emotions, right? So those missing pieces, as you recognize them and improve them, your image improves, because it's not a blame game. It's not a deficit. It's a very clear cut. He understands where something was missed and how to fix it, because we're all in a situation where things aren't always going to go perfect. But how are we going to fix that? How are we going to communicate that out to our coach? How are we going to communicate that to our parents, our siblings, whatever the case, our support system, those that are looking for support? And the more we're able to be in touch with ourselves and how to communicate those emotions, those words, those intents, the better your brand is, because you can communicate.
I totally agree with that. And to go off of that, as a basketball coach myself, I've had a hard time this year, because throughout the whole season, I've asked my players, when we're running through plays or we're talking about situations, ask questions. Let me know what you're thinking, so I can understand who you are as a person and also how you think about the game. And I've really struggled from my athletes to get questions, for them to even come to me and just be like, oh, what spot am I supposed to be in during this play or in this situation? And so I've struggled throughout the year to really have them open up about it. I've had a few kids open up and show leadership about it, but it takes a whole team to do that. And that's an individualized one-on-one. Bring your confidence and show trust in your coach to be able to communicate that stuff and be on the same page. And once you do that to your full extent and you're able to communicate those situations, it's easier to have that trust and understanding from everybody around you in the program.
Gotcha. Yep.
Tonya, would you say, or maybe there isn't one clear answer, but are there any daily habits, plans, skills that you have noticed that help to encourage these positive communication efforts, or to even get an athlete started in this right direction before they are now seen on a more public level and they're conveying themselves to someone that can't communicate or that doesn't have the ability to present themselves in a professional and personal way?
In all honesty, I think that it starts at home, right? So are you communicating with your parents about what's going on in school? So even outside of sports, are you communicating with your parents what's going on with the counselors there? Are you communicating with what you're struggling with? Are you communicating with your aspirations? Do they know? You know, it's easy to put it on parents, like parents should be doing this. Are you communicating? Because you want them to, you want to feel heard and you want to feel seen. Well, the first part of that is communicating. So I always, even as I coached, are you talking to your mom? If I had parents that would come in and were like confused. Hold on. Did you talk to your mom? Did you tell her? Did you explain that to her? No, you didn't? Okay, let's try it. I will literally be like, let's try this. Nope, that's not what I said. Let's try it again. So all that being said, I think it starts at home. And it is a two-way thing. Parents get busy. They're not always thinking they have something to say, but we have to also, because we want them to be successful, stop and ask those questions. Hey, how's it going? What happened at practice? Nothing. What's nothing? You were there for 2 hours. Like, had it in. What did coach say? And I get it all the time. I get it from my own kids. Oh, nothing about
it was okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. What's fine? And then an hour later, they're complaining about something that happened. I thought you said it was fine. So it's really about teaching and practicing regular dialogue. And it is simple things. I even would ask finish this sentence for me. If I'm not getting a lot, I'll just be like, finish the sentence for me. Today was rough because. Finish that sentence for me. So I started doing things that would allow for them to open up and communicate. And then also, when it comes to practice in sports and things of that nature, we stopped being in the middle of their stuff. We made them communicate with their coach. If you're not going to be there, I'm not going to tell your coach you're not going to be there. You tell them, and then tell them why. Good, bad, or otherwise. You have to learn how to be a problem solver. You have to learn how to fix what's broken, communicate what is and isn't going to happen. Because especially if you plan on playing at the next level, because I ain't even going to be there. So what are we doing?
Also, on that aspect, can you kind of talk about the other side of things through like a parent lens and talk about how, yes, you do want to be involved in the process and you do want to be involved in helping your student understand their brand, but also not crossing the line and doing too much to that aspect.
Absolutely. I want them, all athletes, to learn how to be responsible, how to understand expectations, how to deliver, how to have a conversation. If you can't, talk about where you're struggling and ask for help. You have to learn how to ask for help. In class, on the field, asking for help is a big deal. It is a big deal.
I totally agree.
And that kind of segues into our next question, kind of about how can an athlete be an advocate academically? What would that look like in the classroom, at home? Maybe it is in the locker room, but how do you recommend these athletes even start to become a self-advocate?
And again, that starts with recognizing where you need help. No one's perfect. No one is completely self-efficient. We are all a product of support, all of us. So where do you need that help at? Especially when it comes to school, even if you're not struggling to a point where you need help, there's places where you can be better. What does that look like? There's places where you might need some grace, or there's just spaces in time where you just need to let your professor or your teacher know what's going on with you so they know you're not just being negligent. Advocacy starts with communication. Information for the professor or the teacher allows for them to know, one, you're human, right? And two, that you care. And advocacy is all about the caring, the heart of the matter. And most professors and teachers understand it, but you can't not communicate.
Totally. Now, a lot of younger student athletes don't always realize that their brand and their reputation happens much before they're on a college field or a professional field. So when a student athlete is trying to build their brand or even just establishing a positive reputation, when, where, and how do you think that starts? And what should athletes be doing now before they've already kind of created some turmoil? So when they get to center stage, it's not as rainbows and sunshine as they would have imagined.
For the most part, it starts around junior high school age. That's where kids start getting a lot more independence in maybe their schoolwork and what kind of work habits you have and how you show up in the classroom and what are some of those things you volunteer and do at school, because that also shows your interest. Totally. Understanding your brand is who you are even off the field. So all of those types of things start to show up in your regular life, and it shows up on the field. If you're a giving person, are you a good teammate? Are you a good teammate on the field? Are you also great with group work in class? How do teachers speak about you? Those are all things that are part of your brand, and parents really need to understand that, because especially a lot of, junior high school is that stage where you start deciding, are you going to public high school or are you going to private high school? Are you trying out? What's going to happen here? So you do have to decide how your child shows up, online now. It's not what it used to be. It's not just, well, I don't want to do I don't want him on social media. I mean, okay, but you are going to be on social media. So how are you showing up? Parents are being looked at now as a complete representative of their kids. We can't get away from what this digital age has really shown the world in regards to how we decide who we connect with, who we bring on our campus, who we bring on our teams, and who we stay away from.
And to kind of go off that, I think about this a lot, but a lot of athletes, when I have conversations with them, is how can I get the perfect highlight reel? How can I get the perfect clips for coaches to see? And I think a part of it, yes, there is the social media side where you can bring film together and you can bring good content together, but it's also reaching out to the coaches, reaching out to the colleges that you want to go to, see what you need grade-wise to get in academically, and advocate for yourself personally, so that when it is time to send that film out and send the social media side, your brand has been put together to do that extra step of sending the social media side out.
Tyler, I want to go off of what you said of like communicating with coaches when they are wanting to go to the next step. But what about the coaches, Tonya, do you think that have like more of an impact, like when they're younger? Like, is there something that younger coaches or of like young athletes that could be saying or doing or supporting opportunities for those families or those students that just don't even know where to begin?
Absolutely. Most of the best coaches I know are educators. They are literally coaches. Like, they're not dictators. They're coaching kids up. They're coaching families up to the next level instead of punching down, because that's a thing. Like, there's some crazy coaches out there, but to be able to see the ones that actually take time, that educate. For my boys, we had the privilege of being their baseball team, their baseball club, their travel club was run by someone we knew. He worked for the Dodgers. He's actually my husband's fraternity brother. Worked for the Lakers. He's worked for Boys and Girls Club. So he gets it. And the way that he cultivates great baseball players is shown in his work product. He has players in MLB. He has players that come back and give to the younger kids. He has players that takes the time to donate to the program to help cultivate more kids. That shows very much that giving back and coaching up rather than punching down actually works. You need to teach them how to navigate this complex movement that seems to be going on and how to do it right. And for most of the kids that he has sent to the next level, I've heard other coaches at the next level say, you play like you've you play the game the right way. So when you hear that, you play the game the right way, that's a big deal. Not just play to win, not just showing that you're the best. You play the game the right way. And that's in any sport. When someone says that's a win. That's a win as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree.
For those athletes that have been coached up and are ready to take it to the next level, is there any advice or any media expertise that you can share with those student athletes on how they can cultivate and create a more authentic brand besides snapping a picture here or there and just posting it and hoping that that's enough?
Tell the story. Talk about who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. Don't be afraid to connect on a very human level, because those are the things that will allow for people to know you beyond your mistakes. No one's perfect. No one's perfect. You're going to make mistakes. But when people get to know who you are authentically, it really allows for you to have grace in your moments that aren't so picture perfect, because we all go through it. If you're somewhere doing community service, why? Why is that organization important to you? If you're somewhere practicing or struggling with something, talk about what that feels like. But authentic connection is one of the most powerful things any athlete can build into their brand.
Mm-hmm. Are there any, I know you mentioned volunteering, are there any opportunities you think an athlete can kind of dive into to find their authentic self or to showcase their authentic self besides maybe showing up to a younger kid clinic and for an hour and saying, hey, I'm here, I love to play the game?
Many of them start their own. They start their own nonprofits. They get active in politics. I don't know about right now, but they get active. You know, you do the work to improve certain circumstances that might be impeding growth in your sport. Really connecting to causes that are important to you. How are you supporting them? It could be pets. It could be, maybe you had to watch your mom take care of her mom while you were trying to go through college. And now you want to do something important for the elderly or group homes, legislation to help people, caretakers. There's the things that you do show who you are. So allowing yourself to really dive into the things that touch you closely shows everyone who you are and what these moments mean to you.
Thank you so much. That I'm just like absorbing it. Sorry. That was really awesome. And I do agree that there are so many opportunities, people to give back and for people to not just like look at the adversity they're dealt, but kind of climb over it. As a teacher myself, I very much am someone that like in awe of my students that say, you know what, this is really hard for me, but I'm doing it. I'm trying, I'm persevering. Like we talk about what grit is, what perseverance, what leadership, what integrity is. And I agree with you 100% that those skills, they're started at home and they're nurtured at home, but they start so young.
Yeah, they do.
Like even in third grade, I can tell like you have grit, you are working hard, you are trying. You might have it rough, but you are trying your best, you are showing up, and you have a smile on your face.
Yeah.
And like you said, like how teachers and how other people in your life talk about you is so important. Like student athletes don't realize how young your identity and your reputation starts.
Yep.
Now, Tonya, I know you have so many more words of wisdom, and I'm sure so many of our athletes and our listeners would love to have the opportunity to talk to you personally. So can you please share where people, where our listeners, where other athletes and families can connect with you to learn more about Sand and Shores?
Sure. Hey, one of the most important things about growing your brand or whatever you do next is be consistent. For me, you can find me at Tonya McKenzie PR on all social media platforms, or Sand and Shores on all social media platforms, or sandandshores.com. Please feel free to reach out. I talk to parents, I talk to athletes. I will give you guys a link if you want to give out the manual to some of your people. Listen, I am not a gatekeeper. And the better we can do building athletes and their brand, the better we all are. Because at the heart of it, sports are fun and they connect and it's global.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to be as positive and as successful, and we want them to be the same.
Yes, and for our listeners, we will include all of the links that Tonya mentioned in our show notes. So feel free to check out those after this episode. But another question, Tonya also has her own podcast called Leaders and Learners, and we are so lucky to have her be a guest on our podcast. So Tonya, can you share just a quick snippet about what your podcast is and also where our listeners can find your podcast as well?
Awesome. So we're on YouTube. Leaders and Learners is a podcast that lets you know the best leaders are lifetime learners. So check us out on Spotify or YouTube, and we'll be there.
Awesome. Tonya, are you available for one speed round of questions for us before we let you go? All right. So, first word that comes to mind, low stakes, low pressure, but what is one habit that stands out to you immediately from a student athlete?
Time management.
Love that.
Time
We had a whole
management.
episode on that as well.
Time management. Sleep, schoolwork, self-care, time management.
And rest.
What is one trait that you believe every great leader has?
They listen, active listen, not just talk, but they listen to hear and not listen to rebut.
What is one thing you think parents should be more focused on?
School.
What is one thing that you think student athletes don't worry enough about?
Their personal brand.
And what is one thing that you think athletes should worry more about?
Their personal brand.
And last but not least, what is one word that you believe should define an athlete's brand?
Consistent.
Awesome word. Thank you so much again, Tonya, for your time. It has been so amazing to hear you speak and what you do. I definitely agree. As a teacher, there's so much that needs to be done early on for students and for athletes. So it's so great to hear on your end of the spectrum with your older students, all the amazing things you are doing. And viewers, like I said, all of the links, all of the resources, and all of Tonya's information will be linked in our show notes, so you are welcome to check her out as well. But thank you so much for your time, Tonya. And thank you so much, Tyler, for co-hosting this with me.
Yes. Tonya, thank you so much for coming on. This story is very inspirational, and I hope the audience gets a lot out of it, because it's way more than social media, as you hear, and it goes a far way. It really does. And to make an impact like someone like you is hard to do. And I give you a total credit for bringing on the challenge and learning something new every day. It's important to do so. And whether or not you may think it's happening. It's happening no matter what.
Well, thank you guys again for having me. Thank you for being patient with the little old lady. But I'm so glad we did it and we made it happen. And I look forward to, whatever's next.
Yeah. We do as well. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Well, Erin, I couldn't have asked for a more inspirational and better story to tell. Tonya, thank you again for coming onto the podcast. Having your personal brand isn't just something you figure out with the snap of a finger. It's a process. It's a planning tool. It's a reason for wanting to love the game, but also be a student athlete and show who you are as a person. And I think Tonya explains it like no one else could. She gives an amazing story, and I I couldn't have asked for a more inspirational story and someone to be able to tell a story like that.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. And I think it's something that as a teacher, she had mentioned so much about it's your character, how you show up every day. It starts so young. You want your advocates to think highly of you. And it's so important that you do. Tonya did a great job telling us why it's important, what it makes of you for an athlete. And like she said, the digital era never dies. It is here for good. You want to leave your positive impact on the world as a person, as an athlete, because like she said, it goes far beyond the field. And as we mentioned earlier, all of our show notes will include links to her resources, her contact information. And if you want to learn more about what she does in our collaboration, feel free to check it out in the show notes. And our final thought on this podcast is your brand isn't about what you post. It's about how you show up every day, inside and outside the field. Stay driven, stay inspired, stay shining, athletes.
See you guys next time. Peace.